Good morning, everybody. We are the Talking Hats coming at you on this beautiful Saturday morning. I'm out here in Colorado. Harish is out there in Northern Virginia, just outside of DC. So we are going to jump, but we've got a action-packed show this week. We're so much so that we're going to break it down into segments here. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to Jason Bishop, Lurch Papa, the king of Ashburn of the sports junkies out there in the DC area. He shot me a text earlier this week to check me out and see how things are going out here in Colorado. So I definitely appreciated him checking on us. Hope he's doing well as well. Give us a shout out on the show, Jason. That'd be cool.
Loyal fans.
I actually didn't mention that in the text. If he hits me up again, I definitely will though, so we can get some exposure for us. But Harish, I didn't tell you this. We're going to talk about the NFL Combine coming up here in segment one, and little do you know, this entire segment is actually going to be about the NFL Combine. I've got a guest coming on to talk to us about it, and I'm telling you that the guest has a combine experience, so this is going to end up taking up the whole thing. So that's going to be fun to get into. But before our guest jumps on with us, we can go ahead and talk about what we've seen and get a little back and forth before we jump into that.
Yeah, I mean, most of these combine drills for me is just to see how well these God-gifted athletes are put together. I mean, it's just some individuals God just touched and they just have super speed. I believe that when we tweeted out his unofficial time was a 4.2, a wide receiver. I mean,
I think it ended up being 4.39.
Yeah, I mean, at that end of the day, like if I was going to look at a receiver, I don't care about the 40. I just care if he can run away from the other defenders. I mean, that just tells you that that he has speed. I mean, a 4.2 or a 4.3 is just if you blink of an eye, he's gone. So
yeah, Cooper Kupp, his 40 time wasn't good. Jarvis Landry ran one of the bottom 5 slowest 40s in the last, I think, since his draft.
Right.
So 40 time it matters to an extent, but it's not a deal breaker by any means.
And what so it's almost like these are like feats of strength, and in my opinion, it can hurt you or it can help you. And unfortunately, sometimes when a high draft pick comes in and doesn't do really well in the combine, they automatically say, "Oh, his stock is going to drop." Why spread that rumor? Why spread that rumor to hurt an individual's earning potential?
Well, teams do it for a reason.
Of course.
If a team wants a guy, they'll put some dirt out there to make the guy drop to their position. That happens every single year. It's this time of year is lying season. Everybody knows it. Some teams still fall for it because some GMs are young, some coaches are young, inexperienced. They don't know how the game works. You learn as time goes on, but that's what it's all about. It's all about making a certain guy. So you might have extreme interest in a guy, and you might not interview that guy at all because you don't want anybody to know that you're interested in that guy. So this is just the time of year where it's all about subterfuge, distraction, trying to make your guy fall to your position by any means necessary, because it's a big business. You got to do those type of things.
But aren't you playing a risk factor game though, too,
you
when you do that? Because to me, it's like if I was doing this, if I was a GM, this is just Harish speaking, I would interview everybody so they don't know who you're going to get. You can't say, I'm going to call in 3 players, and you automatically know out of that one of them is going to fall to you. You should just say.
The interview thing that I brought up, there was only one coach in particular that I know of that did that. And I'll get into his name later in the show. But every coach does it differently.
Right.
Like I said about the Eagles on a previous show, spreading the dirt about Deshaun Jackson because they wanted to get rid of him. It's just that's just how it goes.
And see, that's it.
Controlling and spinning the message.
Right. And that's bad though, because it's like you have a reputation because you have a name. And when people tarnish your name, that's inexcusable. Just because you want to have them not perform, it's their money at the end of the day. I mean, these athletes, these individuals put their bodies on the line day in and day out, and to spread junk like that is totally not cool. And it especially happens at the combine because, as you said, people are just greedy. But I also feel that strategies needs to shift a little bit into how to evaluate players, because you can perform amazingly at the combine, get like the number 4 pick from another team, and you're just not the player they expected. There's a lot of other components I think that needs to go into evaluation, and some teams do it. You can tell that some teams they just look at the combine like, okay, you got strength, you got speed, you got vertical and horizontal movement, but what else can you do? What's your character? Who are you as a person? What's your work ethic? And I think that alone can kind of project can actually tell a lot about a team's like how they build a team together. Because if you build that, then like you may not win Super Bowls in the near future, but you can at least build a team to get you there.
Yeah, and evaluating talent, I'm looking for if I'm doing it first and foremost, I'm looking for a guy who, if it's quarterback, I want somebody who can fit my system. So I'm looking at what system you played in college. That's why I'm not interested in any Ohio State quarterbacks, because their scheme it's not a pro system by any means. I want a team that sort of kind of plays a pro style. It doesn't have to exactly match mine, but I want to know that you can make my throws. I want to know that you can if it's a zone blocking scheme, I want to know that you can sprint out and make those stretch handoffs and with ease. Not anybody can do it, but I want to know that you can get to those spots when the timing has to be there. I want to know that you're coachable. Arm talent, I expect everybody who at the combine to be able to make NFL throws. You might have an extreme level of talent like a Josh Allen, or Michael Vick is the strongest arm I ever saw. So you might have that. That's fine. But if you're not accurate, then I'm not interested in that. I don't care if you can run a 4.2 as a quarterback. That's nothing. I want to know that I can coach you to run my scheme is what I'm looking for.
So to get back to that, that's a great point you made about arm strength, because it gets thrown around a lot in the combine. In the last couple of days, they're like, oh, Malik Williams has the strongest arm in the quarterback draft, and then they say, oh, this individual Pickett has the strongest. He's more NFL ready. When people talk like that, like for me, I'm thinking to myself, what is NFL ready? Like, I mean, you don't know that until he actually goes in and performs. I mean, exactly. Is it because to me, is it the system that they run that they're NFL ready? Because it's almost like you're saying that, oh, they don't know how to read defenses. I mean, come on. Until
NFL ready, that's just a boilerplate term that people throw out there to either draft or not draft the guy that they want to draft. Nobody in Dak Prescott's draft was saying he was NFL ready, because he went third round?
Yeah, he went third. I think so. Yeah, third.
He was NFL ready from day one, because he came in and took Tony Romo's job. So, that's, like I said, that's just a term they throw out to excuse or not excuse picks. It doesn't mean anything. You don't know if a guy's NFL ready until he's in the NFL.
But I like to bring up one thing. I do like to see one thing at the combine is that bench press. 225, how many people can throw it up? And my brother right here threw it up more than some combine individuals that they did. Well, he's not in his peak condition yet, but
so I haven't lifted in months. We've been traveling around a lot, and I haven't really settled in anywhere. My workouts have taken a hit. My body's taking a hit due to that too. But I went in yesterday and I didn't even warm up. And I posted a video on our Twitter if y'all want to check it out. You can see how chubby I am now. But I put up 6 reps at 225. I know I could have done more, but I didn't have a spotter. I didn't want to risk either getting hurt or having the weight fall on me or something, But I'm proud of my 6 reps. Going to keep building on that. And it's not a matter of the strength. I've got the strength. It's just the muscle endurance. That's the only thing I was worried about. So as I keep building, maybe I'll post when I get to 10. 10 plus.
I tweeted back out, if you had me as a spotter, you would have gotten 3.
Yeah, I would have. Because I know you would have been able to handle it. So yeah.
I would have been like, oh, well, let's backtrack a little bit. Maybe. I'm not at my peak condition like I honestly used to be, but
I measured my hands yesterday too.
How much?
And Kenny Pickett is getting some flack because his hands were the smallest in I don't know how long, but it was like 8 and something. Yes. I forget the exact figure. But my throwing hand, I have small hands. I'm not gonna lie, and you can look at how crooked my pinky is here. I've broken my thumb several times, but my throwing hand measured at 9 inches, which is. For a guy with small, I think my hands are tiny, but a 9-inch hand on my throwing hand, that's solid. And I can grip an NFL ball. I can throw an NFL ball.
Now, so that's a very interesting point you made, right? So because college footballs are different than NFL. I think they're a little bit inflated.
They're slightly smaller.
They're slightly smaller. I thought they were, or maybe I was looking at the old Nerf balls, but they're slightly smaller, right? And if you go into the pros, does hand size really matter when gripping a football?
Well, there are guys with big hands who suck. So I mean, it's not everything. I think
Right.
Michael Vick had the smallest hands besides Kenny Pickett lately, and
Hmm.
Michael Vick didn't have any issue throwing a football. Mahomes
That's
doesn't have huge hands either. The biggest hands in the league, Russell Wilson.
oh
So
really? Oh,
I mean, he doesn't have the strongest arm, but
right.
he throws a pretty ball.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. I mean,
it
it's
matters to an
insane.
extent. It's not the
Right.
reason I wouldn't draft somebody, but Kenny
Hmm.
Pickett was out there throwing with gloves. I don't want that. I see
Really?
Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves. I don't like the way he throws either. He wears
Hmm.
a glove. I don't dig that.
So
Not
what
interested in
so
that.
so what does a glove do? Like
It's grip.
it
It's
just
grip,
grip?
but I feel like you lose some touch when you're throwing with the glove. I've
Hmm.
tried it. It's not the same.
Hmm.
I couldn't play that way.
Yeah. So do you think that will hurt his draft stock?
Oh, no question. It
Hmm.
will hurt his draft stock, but he broke all Dan Marino's records at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't. I've never heard anything about him going like first round or anything. So it hurt his draft stock, maybe. I don't. But he'll probably get drafted around where he would have anyway.
Mhm. I heard in the last couple of days actually that he is going to be a number one. He's going to be the first round draft pick.
That would
But
shock me.
I mean because they're saying that if it's because besides Malik Williams, who's a hands down like amazing talent but a project, they say that Kenny Pickett and he's one of the most NFL ready quarterbacks in this lightened quarterback draft. So and the thing is, who knows what trades may happen to get when on the day of. So it's going to be interesting because like for me, I'm a big guy, so I like to see linemen and D linemen and kind of maybe kind of run it out and kind of see what their vertical capabilities are. But it's just that bench press, as we said. It's just fun to see, just to throw up some weight. And I don't know who has the record now for the bench press now at the combine, but it was just fun to see. That's the only thing I look forward to is because running fast and everything. Everybody has a certain speed. Everybody has that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's there, but like strength, you can't teach strength. It's just you have to work on it, or you just inborn. It's just one of those things. So, and some individuals just are just oxes. They're just built like ox, like Dale. They're just built like Dale.
Oh well, thank you. No, but with Pickett, back to his hand size, he played in rough weather out there at Pittsburgh. That they get some snowstorms and all that, and that it never seemed to bother him. So I don't know if I was considering him a third round pick, I wouldn't drop him to the fourth just because of hand size. I'd still take him
Hmm.
where I plan to take him. But with a guy like Malik Willis and him being NFL ready, I don't know if he's a true project where he needs like 2 or 3 years to sit. He might need 1 year to sit behind the veteran to learn and then come out and take over the team next year. And the thing I love about him the most is the fact that I love his attitude. When he was interviewed, he was talking about, you can't expect to go out there and be rookie of the year. And, I'm going to go out there and be MVP in my first year and all this stuff. It's a learning process. He said that most guys don't approach it that way. He's humble. One of his representatives put out a video of him helping out a homeless guy that, who knows if that was staged. I'm sure it was, who knows, but I don't, if it was, I don't put that on him. That's his
Hmm.
representation. I think he's a great kid, coachable. He's 6'1", like 220 or something like
Hmm.
that. Big, stocky, muscular guy. He's got the arm. He's definitely, for me, he's my first quarterback off the board. No
Oh yeah,
question about it.
no question about that because people are saying that he may even go top five.
That
The-
I could see it because teams get desperate and
mhm.
they think somebody might take him over them and they want to trade up. Realistically, he's a first round quarterback. I don't know
Yeah.
if any other draft he goes that high though.
Oh, so let's say he came out next year. Let's say he
Mm.
had 1 year. He came out next year. There's no way he's going in the first round. No way. I mean, they have
I,
other.
I don't know who's coming out next year. But
Oh, DC to
that's
Aurora.
me. That's me. Sorry.
Oh. I was like, wait, the guest joined from your
pay
house. I
no
was like, oh.
pay no attention to that. If you're watching the YouTube video here, I will cancel that out real quick. I was just checking our Zoom link.
Mm.
I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm having some technical difficulties. I will edit this out of the YouTube, but it will be in the Spotify, so you guys will hear it. But just a sec. We'll be right back in just a second. We are the Talking Hats. We are back from break, and we are joined by a special guest here to talk about his NFL Combine and NFL Draft experience leading up to it and all that good stuff. We've joined by Eddie Royal, former Broncos, Bears, Chargers receiver, went to Virginia Tech, former Hokie, grew up in Northern Virginia, Westfield High School, South Lakes High School, Paul VI, superstar athlete. I'll let Harish go ahead and lead us off with the questions because I already know all this stuff. So, it's just like me just recounting my whole history again too. So
I'm like, you leaving out on your brother. You didn't throw that out there for the people that don't know.
Well, yeah, true. I say it royal, but my baby bro, right. I was always at all his games. That's my baby bro. I'm so proud of him and proud of everything he's doing now too. The great father I'm looking up to. Just trying to be like you still. My little brother still trying to catch up. But go ahead and Harish and lead us off with the football talk.
Man, it's just like I was just like, where do I start? All these questions are in my head, and I'm like, so when you knew that you're going to go into the NFL draft, and when people started approaching you about, hey, you have to prepare for this combine, what was your methodology? What was your thought process? How did you get into mentally preparing yourself for these events for the combine?
It's crazy because it was a lot leading up to it. So I'm training for not only for the combine and all of that stuff, but I played in the Senior Bowl as well. So I had that to prepare for. So that kind of took my focus off of the combine and the stress of that. So I was laser focused on the Senior Bowl and going on and putting on a good show there because I knew that if I perform well there, that's going to raise my draft stock more than anything I do at the combine because that's actual football. You're going one-on-one drills. You're playing real ball there. So I was so focused on that. And I felt like I had a good Senior Bowl. I felt like I showed the coaches and everything that I needed to show them, that I could be an outside receiver, that I could win in one-on-one situations, that I was a quick learner with the playbook. And so all those little things go into it because they see you for the entire week. They see your work habits. They see what you do after practice. They see what you're doing before practice, how quickly you're picking up the playbook, how you interact with your teammates. So the Senior Bowl for me was my big moment. Like I had a chance to show what I could do a little bit at Virginia Tech. I wish I could have showed more as a receiver. Luckily, I returned kicks and punts that I could show that I could make plays with the ball in my hand. So that helped me out a ton at Virginia Tech, but I wasn't able to show the type of receiver that I was there completely because we had so many guys as well. I mean, we were a run-first team. We had 4 or 5 guys that played in the NFL in that receiving room alone. So we were stacked. And then you throw the shuffling in at quarterback. I mean, we had a lot going on. And then we had the number 1 defense in the country majority of the time that I was there. So is it messing up on y'all end?
Just your video, your audio.
Just your video, your audio is fine, yeah.
Okay. And so we had the number 1 defense probably 3 out of the 4 years that I was there. So our mentality was just take care of the ball and let the defense win the game for the most part.
Conservative football, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was my main focus of going out and really showing that I could be an every down receiver in the NFL. So I was really laser focused on dominating the Senior Bowl, which I felt like I was able to show them what I wanted to leading into the combine. And my mindset was really just showing these coaches everything that they couldn't see on tape, showing them my work ethic, showing them that I'm a good teammate, that I'm a willing blocker, because I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I'll stick my nose in there and I'll dig out the safety. I'll do the little things that it take that won't show up on the stat sheet, and I took pride in being a good blocker. At Virginia Tech, you almost got to be if you're going to play receiver there. And so
then in the offense you wound up and you got to be too. So yeah,
Shanahan exactly.
Offense, I remember one block in particular in your rookie season. Was it rookie when you went to Atlanta? You lit up Foxborough. I felt bad for him, but I'm glad you were on the other end of it.
Oh man, that was one of them things. It was like I remember growing up and you dream about getting a crackback like that. I probably would get fined. In this NFL now, I would have got fined big for that block. But it was one of them things you like turn around and you see the ball carrier coming near you, and he had like just peeled around to try to catch him. My eyes got big and I turn around and I'm just like, I'm gonna kill this dude. It was like the last second I saw it was Foxworth. I was like, that's my dog. I was like, and then his eyes got big when he saw me, and I was like, it's too late, bro. It's too late.
It's going down.
Yeah, so I'll say I held back a little bit. I held back enough to where I didn't want to hurt him because that's my guy. But I still gave him enough to let him know I was there. Yeah, that's funny. You remember that? Yeah, that was a highlight block for me. The Foxworth. That's my guy. So I didn't give him everything I had.
Was he on the Broncos shortly while you were there and then get traded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was there, and shoot, we had some battles, and he was such a smart player, though. That's what I always remembered about him. Even at his time at Maryland, like this dude was a smart football player. He wasn't like the biggest guy ever either. But just very smart. Knew how to play the game. Never out of position. And I'm sure he took a lot of that from Champ Bailey being around Champ. And so he was able to carry that on, and he got paid. He left it and he got paid. And so good for him, but he was a heck of a football player. So I got lucky enough to be around some good dudes. But
and a great broadcaster now. He's doing his thing.
He is. I'm proud of him. He's doing a great job. Well spoken, represents himself in a great manner. So yeah, he's doing a heck of a job post football career.
So I gotta ask you, what was your 225 bench?
Now, see, we're gonna get into that part because that's where I was leading us just now. So when we went down to Pensacola, what academy was that you were with when you were down there training?
What was the
IAA or something like that? I forget. CA,
right?
Something like that. Whatever it was, we went down to Pensacola so you could train for the combine.
The Andrews Institute or whatever, wasn't it? What's the big doctor? The doctor.
Dr.
James Andrews. Yeah,
James Andrews.
Yeah, he had a spot in Pensacola. They also train people in Arizona, and so I didn't want to go to Arizona because that place is not overcrowded, but it was just a ton of people. I wanted to go. It was the first year they had opened up one in Pensacola, and I was like, it's not going to be as many people there. The training's going to be just as good. So I decided to go to Pensacola to where the numbers aren't as big. I can really get the focus I need. And so I went down there, and I'm glad I did.
And Christina was down there too. She was stationed down there at the time.
Exactly.
Our sister. So they set us up nice in a little hotel spot. No, we were down there with you for a little bit. But the work you put in down there, I don't know if that was just combine centric focus, but you bulked up, like you got jacked. You went from like you played at like 170 or so.
I probably give me a little bit more credit.
No, in college.
Yeah, I thought it. 175, maybe 180-ish.
You got up to like 185. I never saw you that big. Then after your combine prep, you got jacked in your speed and everything. Well, I think your speed might have taken a little bit of a hit because you got so big.
Yeah. That's something I look back on that time, and I just reached out to every guy that I talked to about the combine prep and everything. I'm like, don't get too big, bro, because that was the thing though. Because like I said, I wasn't that big of a guy, so it was almost I was trying to prove it in by showing them like I'm a big dude, like I can take the hits in the NFL, I can handle that. And in turn, it slowed me down. Like I was a speed guy, and
it slowed you down. But what did you run?
No, I ran a 4.39, I think it was, or something.
So it slowed you down, but
no, see, I was so ticked off when I ran that time, man. I was ticked because through training, I was running, man, I hit 4.2s, and I was in a lower 4.3s, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna kill the 40.
I don't know if you remember this, but at one point at Tech, you ran a 4.19.
Is that a record?
You see,
that has to be a record, right?
I remember that.
At Tech, they kept making me run over and over again because they didn't believe the clock. They like, man, it's wrong line. I feel it again. And they kept clocking it. And I was like, what else you want me to do? I'm like, just
and I know you were that fast. I know it. So
wait, so they tired you out just to get a better score?
No, because they didn't believe
your score?
they were just like, it's got to be wrong. And I was like, bro, how many times you want me to run this thing? Like, I'm just gonna get slower because I'm tired. Like, and so I think the final they me at 4.22 or 4.24 or something like that. I think was the final number they gave me.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was something I do if looking back on the combine stuff because I was already strong. I mean, I
Mhm.
came in a Virginia Tech strong.
Yeah, broke the
Um,
records
and,
for bench.
yeah, and so the bench press, I was going to knock that out the water anyway. So it was like I didn't have to get that big, but it was like an emphasis of mine to be like I can handle these hits over the middle and
Yeah,
all that. And in turn, it slowed me down. So that 4.39, it's like everybody's like, man, that's impressive. But every time I hear it, I'm like, no, like because in my heart, I know I was so much faster than that.
yeah,
So every guy I talk to, I'm like, hey, don't sacrifice your speed trying to put on a couple
Mhm.
extra pounds because if you're a speed guy, they want to see you run fast.
yeah,
I'm like running a lower 40 to get you drafted higher than throwing up a couple more reps on a bench press. And
absolutely.
so
Mhm.
that's kind of what I regret a little bit about putting on that weight because it definitely slowed me down. And to be honest with you, all that training and technique that I did with the running and the like, I was just fast. Like I didn't have
Mhm.
to have like the track mentality. I was never like a track dude. I just knew how to run fast. I
Yeah,
don't know what it was. So I spent so much time trying to figure out how to get out of the stance and how to change my running form that I felt like a robot. Instead of just
yeah,
running fast like I've been doing my entire life, I'm sitting here trying to think about picking up my knees and all the turnover and all that while I'm running a 40. And when I got done, I was kind of ticked off. I was like, what am I doing? I
Mhm.
was like, I'm
yeah,
already fast. Like I
yeah.
don't need this stuff. I was like, you can
Right.
teach this to the guys that actually need it. Like I was
Mhm.
already fast. So that's something that I would change a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm thankful for where I went, where I ended up going
Heck
in the
yeah.
draft,
Mhm.
being a Bronco uh and so I wouldn't change that part of it, but there's a few things here and there that I'm like, man, I left a little bit out there still.
Now, speaking of the
So
strength and the bulk you put on, what did you do on the bench? I know it,
yeah,
but Harish, Harish doesn't know.
I did 24 reps of
24.
225,
That's right.
and it was cool. And that's another thing. It was like I was happy with it, like, but I was like, I could do more, man. It was I wanted more, and
You didn't
it's
look
so
done at the end
crazy.
of it.
Yeah, but it's like you get in that environment, and it's like
Mhm.
there's so
Mhm.
much adrenaline going on.
Yeah.
There's so much, so it's like you got to try to calm yourself down a little bit in a way. So I was antsy and all that. So I could have threw up some more, but I was happy with 24. I think I broke the record at that point. I
Yeah.
think somebody might
Mhm.
have tied it or beat it at this point, but I don't know. But at that time, I
I have to
done
look at
enough
what
to
DK
cement.
Metcalf did. I don't remember. I don't
Yeah,
remember what he
and then I got my son knocking at the door, like,
did.
forgive me, that's Miles about to come in here.
That's
So
cool.
No, that's
um
cool.
yeah, let me get the door. Hold
Yeah,
on.
we can take a quick break and come
We'll take a
back.
quick break. Yeah.
So we're gonna let him go ahead and let Miles in, and we'll be right back. We are back from the break. We're going to jump back into our combine talk. We left off with the bench and wondering if you had broken the record. I'll check that out at some point here during the day and maybe revisit that later in the show. But as far as the combine experience itself, just going through the process, meeting all the guys, some guys you probably hadn't met. I know you spoke highly of Jordy Nelson afterwards. Do you remember any other experiences of meeting players during it, and just your overall experience that day, the day of?
Yeah, it was man, you get to meet so many guys. Earl Bennett was another guy that I
Uh-huh.
connected with when I
Mhm.
was there. I mean, shoot, it was Mario Manningham was cool. Like, it was a number
Michigan,
of dudes there.
Michigan guy.
Yeah, and then Deshaun Jackson was there. He was
Danger
down
accent.
there training as well. And so it was a number of cool people that I met there. But really it's crazy because you're competing against them, but you're cool.
Yeah.
It's like I want to run faster than you. I want to show that I'm better than you, but I'm like this dude cool too though. Like so, it's like a camaraderie there though. You know,
Mhm.
Mhm.
like you want to see him do well. You want to see everybody like you encouraging everybody. And that's kind of the dynamic in the league. People are like it's like you see fans and they want you to like hate the guy that you're playing against or hate the team, and it's like that's my homeboy over there. Like I just said with like Foxworth, it was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit this guy, but I'm not about to knock him out. Like he's got a family to take care of as well. So, and you just like, it's like a lot of times fans don't understand it. Like, man, we all know each other from training with one another. And this is Miles, and he just
Hey,
said
buddy.
hello.
Hey, Miles.
And so that's the dynamic it was at the combine. It was competitive, but at the same time, it was like a family type atmosphere because I mean, we all understood and appreciated the work that we had all put in to get to this point. Because there's an elite group of guys there, right? They get invited to the combine. So we all understood the work that was put in to get them there. So we respected their journey and sharing stories, man. Like everybody's from a different part of the world, but you all got that one thing in common, like the work ethic it took to get there, the grind, whatever the motivation was, you know, and just hearing people's motivations, like it's different, you know. And as you know, mine and ours was taking care of our mother, right? Just we got to take care of her. And so the crazy resemblance and hearing that so many people that I came across at the combine, that was the same sentiment. Like, man, I got to take care of my mom. Like I didn't see her bust her butt for our family and the sacrifices she made. Like, so I got to do that for her. So
I'm sure people have similar stories, but nobody can touch ours. 7. that's by herself. 7 by herself. So that's a story. But you mentioned D-Jax. I didn't know y'all trained together down in Florida. I know you beat his 40 time at the combine, but were y'all having battles down there while y'all were training?
No, see, D-Jax so funny, man. D-Jax was so fast. This dude, D-Jax was rolling. I don't know that I beat his 40.
You beat his
man.
40 time. He ran like a 4.41.
He's the fastest. He's like the fastest dude I've seen on a football field. Like, you talk about tracking the ball over your shoulder. He's as good as it gets. Like that talent right there. I'm like, he could have been a all-star baseball player. Like the way that he tracks that ball is unheard of, man. And his football speed, I don't care what he ran on that track, man. His football speed is just different. And so he was down there. So D-Jax was funny because it was like he was training, but he had his own special like trainers down there. Like it was like, I'm here, but I'm gonna do my own thing. Like y'all, and he took that sentiment. He was like, I'm fast already. Like y'all not gonna mess me up. And so he understood that. He understood his strength. He was like, I don't care nothing about no bench press. Like,
I don't even think he did
170, whatever it was. And I'm looking at him like, DJ, you might want to put on some weight. But he's like, man, he didn't care. He knew his thing was speed. And that worked for him, and it's still working for him at 34, 35 years old. He's still flying by people. And so that tells you, like, man, speed kills, and he's one of the fastest to ever do it. So,
Now, going into the draft, so I remember the day of, we were sitting in the hotel room waiting for the call. You mentioned before that Shanahan didn't really show any interest in you leading up into the draft. Explain that whole process. I remember the details of it, but just get into that and how he approached that and how he, and wound up being able to pick you.
Yeah, it was crazy because you when you're at the combine, you got teams that request interviews from you, and so you all of a sudden assume that, okay, these are the teams that are probably going to draft me because they want to get a hands-on look. They want to meet you. They want to see the type of guy you are, especially because if they didn't coach you at the Senior Bowl, the coaches are there. They're hands-on with you. And we had the Raiders. We had Lane Kiffin. We had the Raiders staff, and he was there. Lane was funny. He was there. So Lane was like, he was like, I don't care about what y'all do out there. He's like, if I gotta motivate y'all, then y'all in the wrong locker room. He like, I don't care. He's like, I got a job. He's like, y'all need to go show out. So he's like, I'm not gonna give you some motivational speech.
Yeah.
He's like, if I have to do that, then shoot. We got the wrong guys in
He
there.
seems like a character.
Yeah, so we was all looking around like, all right. Because you think you're gonna get some like rah-rah speech from the coach, and you're like, shit, I don't give a damn. Like, I'm already good. Y'all gotta figure it out. So that was lame. But yeah, so at the combine, you go and the teams that call you in and they ask you an assortment of questions, man. They want to know your family background, they want to know everything. And so a lot of it's not even about football. Sometimes they just want to know the person, because they're like, man, this is $1 million investment. Millions of dollars are about to pay this guy. We need to know that he's not going to go mess it up on some off the field stuff. So a lot of it, my prep was all in football. Like, I'm thinking that I got to go. I'm on the board. I'm doing coverages. I'm making sure that I know blitz pickups. I'm learning everything what the offensive line's supposed to do, what blitz is, and as a receiver, knowing hot routes. Like, there's so many things that run through your mind. And then you get there and they're like, tell me about Pearl, which is our mother. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? You don't know about my mother? And like, she's a school bus driver. I'm like, what else do you want to know? And it was crazy. They're asking about siblings. They're asking about everything. What kind of car you drive? Like, what's going to be the first thing you purchase when you sign your contract? Like, they wanted to know how you thought in that aaspect of it.
How'd you answer those questions?
Like, man, it was just open and honest. I gave him my authentic self, and I felt like, because when somebody's BSing you, you can always tell.
Yeah.
You know, you could see somebody who's not being true to themselves. Just the way that they answer it. A lot of people get there and they're robotic and they're just. So I just had to give. I had nothing to hide. I was proud of my story. I was proud of everything that got me to that point and how we grew up. It wasn't the easiest, but I was proud of that because it instilled my work ethic. It instilled everything that got me to that point.
Absolutely.
And so you got to answer those questions open and honest, because if you're lying 9 times out of 10, they already know the answer to the question they're asking.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that, so all of these teams all these interviews that I got to do, and I'm looking at the teams and where they're drafting, and I'm like, okay, I might go here, I might go there. So in my mind, I'm like, dang. So Denver did not call me in for an interview. And so Denver wasn't even on my radar at all. So I didn't think about the Broncos at all. I remember once I got drafted, I looked back on it and I was like, man, because they throw you in like this big conference room, and then like there's coaches walking around. You don't know who they are. They just have on a t-shirt, maybe a hat or something that tells you that they're with a team or something, that they're in the NFL, but you don't know who they are. And so I'm in this big conference room. We're all in there mingling, talking. And one of the coaches from the Broncos comes up and he's talking to me like, hey, I'm from DC. And I'm like, oh, what's up? Like, yeah.
I know who it was.
He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna put him out there.
Yeah,
That's my
me
man.
neither.
I thought about saying his name, but I'm gonna leave it out.
I know who
it was just funny because we talking and he was like, man, do you go to Love much? And Love was a nightclub. As you know. If you know, right?
Yeah.
You see, like you be in Love, and I'm like, at that point, I was like, man, I don't really go out like that. I don't really hit the city that much. I don't really go to clubs like that. And I was being honest. It was like, I know what you're talking about, but that's not really my scene like that. And so we talk about that, like little stuff around the city, and that was it. Boom, he got out of there. And so he was from the Broncos, right? And so it was a quick 2-second conversation, like in and out. And that was the only interaction I had with the Broncos. So come draft day, I'm watching all the teams, and Philly had come to work me out. And so I got a call from the Eagles before. Like, you get, sometimes teams will call you during the draft and be like, hey, if you're still there, we're going to grab you, right? And so Philly had called me and was like, hey, if you're there, we're going to take you, right? And I'm looking, Philly was probably 6 picks down. at this point. I believe, if I'm telling a story right, I hope I'm right. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna end up in Philly. And so I'm like, I'm cool with Philly. I like Philly. Andy Reid, head coach of the Texans was there. Cully, he was well, they just fired him. So he was a receivers coach there at Philly at the point, and he had come to work me out. Side story, he didn't get to work me out because I pulled my hamstring messing with a coach. Look, a coach I'm getting sidetracked, I know. But coach,
go for it.
Coach had come to work me out at Tech, and he was like, we're not really gonna work out. I just want to talk to you. So we're at the field, and he brought a punter out there. And I'm like, if I'm not working out, what is this punter out here for? And he like, you don't gotta warm up or nothing or stretch. I just want to see how you track the ball. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. And the punter, he didn't warm up or nothing. So the dude started kicking the ball, and the ball is like all over the place, right? No. Looking at him, but I gotta catch it because I'm like, I don't want to look bad, like I can't track the ball. So I'm running around, and I'm like, dude, should I stretch? And he's like, no, we're not gonna be out here long. Just, like I said, I just want to see you track it. So I'm like, man, I need to stretch, right? And so the next thing, the dude, this freaking punter kicked the ball way over to the right. And as soon as he kicked it, I looked at the coach. I gave him a look because the guy boomed it over there high. I just look at the coach, and I'm like, damn, I gotta go get this. So I was like, I went on a full sprint to go catch the ball, and I just feel my hamstring, and I'm like, oh my God,
that's the worst.
And I get over there, bro, and I get over there, I catch the ball, and I just slam it. And I look at this coach, and I'm like, y'all better not draft me. I was ticked off at this daggone coach because I didn't have pro day yet, right? Because my pro day was coming up.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why they don't do the individual workouts before pro day anymore, because stuff like that. So I'm ticked off at this dude. And when I pulled it, when you pull a hamstring, you know how bad it is. Yeah. And I pulled it, and it was bad. And I slammed the ball. And I just looked at this coach, and I was just like, because in my head, I'm like, that could cost me so much money there. So I'm ticked off, and the guy kind of sees it on my face, and especially the look I gave him. And so that kind of wrapped up. He was like, all right, we're good here. I was like, you damn right we're done. I was like, this is over. And so Cully had come to Tech like a day or two later to work me out, and I couldn't do anything. And he was a little disappointed. And I wanted to show, because I really liked Philly, and I wanted to show him what I could do, and I just couldn't. So I ended up missing my pro day as well, which was after the combine, which was my chance to show I was faster than the 4.39 that I ran as well. And so I was ticked off about that as well. And so that happened. So I didn't get to do all of that. So back to the whole Denver thing. I loved Philly, and so they're like, hey, we might, if you're there, we're gonna draft. And I'm like, cool. I know them. I feel comfortable with them. I'm big Eagles right down the road too. Yep. Y'all could drive to the games. Bam, it's easy. So during the draft, we're sitting there, and I'm sitting there watching. I'm getting antsy because in my mind, I was like, man, I want to go late first. Like, hopefully, I want to go late first. Like the Giants was there. I was like, ooh, I know the Giants like me a lot. They had told me, because the Giants was like, shoot, we might grab you the late first. And I'm like, shoot, okay. you don't know. It's like, man, I came from Tech. I ain't put up a ton of numbers at Tech because we didn't throw the ball. So I'm like, shit, I go late first, cool. And so they passed. I think they picked Kenny Phillips, a safety out of Miami. And so we get there, and Philly's coming up. I was like, I'm gonna be an Eagle. And then I get a 303 number pop up on my phone. Like, I remember, I don't know who this is.
So we were all sitting in the hotel room, Tarish, waiting for the call to come in. We didn't know when it was going to come.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to ask. Is like when you're sitting there, the nerves must be like, I feel like you can't even imagine.
I feel like we were all just sitting there, as a family all together, just waiting for the call, not nervous or anything.
So do you guys have any food and drinks, or is it just like a room full of snacks?
I don't think we was drinking or nothing. Yeah, I think we was just hanging out. And you got random people calling you, right? And so I'm like, man, what is going on? Who is this 303? Now I'm thinking like some friend calling me or something. So I pick up the phone. I'm like, you don't know that's the call, so you're not even that excited. I pick up the phone. Then it was Coach Shanahan, right? And he was like, it's Mike Shanahan. I was like, yo, your heart drop. You like, it's Mike, right? Yeah. You like, man. And so I'm on the phone. He's like, how would you like to be a Denver Bronco? And I'm like, you damn yeah, coach. He's like, yeah. And then it started to click to me. I'm like, where the hell is Denver? I'm like, Colorado. I'm like, I ain't never been over there. All I know about is mountains. I'm like, and so I'm like, damn, I'm gonna be a Broncos. And then you see it happen on the TV, and then you're just like, it's a surreal moment. And you're just like, wow. Then it just hits you, and I'm like, where the hell is Denver? I'm like, because I didn't know nothing about over there.
Right.
I'm just like, damn. And so I'm like, going to the middle of nowhere, right? And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I knew about the Broncos because Chris liked John Elway and all that, Rod Smith and Terrell and all of them, TD and all those guys. And so I remember him loving them. And so I knew about the Broncos that way, and they had won Super Bowls or whatever. So I was like, all right, cool. But I didn't picture myself as a Bronco. Yeah. It's crazy because you playing a Madden game and all that. You put yourself in different uniforms, right? How you look in that uniform. And I never picked the Broncos out. And so that was pretty cool. And I remember, I'll tell a side story. I remember getting there and I landed, and anybody that's been to Denver, you get there, it's so flat when you land it. Like there's nothing. The
airport is on a plane.
Get there. Yeah, and I get there and I was like, oh my God. I was like, my worst nightmare is coming true. I was like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. It felt
just
like
so you know, we got a minute and a half.
Idaho. Yeah, it felt like I was in like Idaho or somewhere, or Iowa or something. I'm like, oh my God. But then you drive into the city and it's a completely different feel than what you expect. Like the best city ever. Like I couldn't have been drafted to a better place. The fan base was awesome. The coaches, my teammates, like, man, I got lifelong friends from that team with Coach Shanahan, who I wish we could have kept on for years to come.
That would have changed everything.
We were building.
That would have changed everything.
We were building. We were a younger team. Our defense needed to come along. We had the number one offense in the league my rookie year, and the defense was a little bit behind. We had some good players. We had a lot of injuries, but that defense was going to get going, and we would have been a good team.
So this is going to cut us off here in about 30 seconds. It's going to be a hard out too. I don't know if you wanted to join us for another segment, but if not, what are you thinking about that?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, let's keep it going. That's fine with me.
Cool. Okay. So I'll cut this off here then, and I'll send you the new link, and we'll pick right back up. Talking Hats, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be right back.